It's not uncommon to hear singing coming from the classrooms of the Little Axe School. For 30 minutes each Thursday morning, the children sing and talk with each other in so-called sharing sessions. But some of the children's parents aren't happy with those meetings. They claim the sessions are religious services. So two parents have teamed up with the American Civil Liberties Union to stop the sessions. A lawsuit filed in Oklahoma federal court this morning seeks to overturn the state law allowing voluntary prayer in schools.
The voluntary prayer, either in the statute or in the distribution of the Bibles or in the conducting of this service, doesn't have a secular purpose. Second, it advances a religion. And third, it fosters an unnecessary and extensive entanglement with the government with religion. This is the test that the Supreme Court has established, and we feel like it's a violation.
The suit alleges that the school kids were pressured to participate in religious activities.
There's been a lot of peer pressure because the parents have took sides naturally, and it's my mother wants me to go, so I'm going to go. My mother doesn't want me to go, so I won't go. Peer pressure there is.
Little Axe School Board member Bill Scott disagrees. He says the sharing sessions are strictly voluntary.
And as far as anyone being coerced or almost coerced in any manner that I know of, that's completely untrue. My child has attended 2 of the sharing sessions. I myself attended my first one this morning. I saw no evidence of any coercion.
Little Axe school administrators say they're not going to let the ACLU suit intimidate them. They say they plan to continue with their so-called Thursday morning sharing sessions until a court of law tells them to stop. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the Little Axe School.
Cattlemen are receiving about $68 a 100 pounds for slaughter steers. The experts say the break-even price is $72, so it's not difficult to figure out how they're losing money. But the United States Department of Agriculture is predicting better times. The USDA predicts the price will hit $75 a 100 pounds this summer.
They've been expecting an increase in cattle prices for some months. In fact, the past 24 months, they've only had 2 or 3 months of profit making during that period of time.
Ellis Freeney is the executive vice president of the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association.
If in fact the price of live cattle goes up to $75 a 100 pounds, how will this affect consumers?
I doubt that we would experience an increase at retail level anytime soon. They like stability in prices. They don't want to fluctuate those prices often, and I think that if the price of live cattle and carcass beef continues to go up over a period of weeks, that we could expect some 6 weeks down the road that they'd have to raise the retail price some.
Before we start complaining about higher beef prices, consider this. Cattlemen may get a little more for their product, but the Agriculture Department says higher feed costs will soak up the gain. Feed costs this summer are expected to be 30% higher than they were a year ago. Ben McCain, Action 4.
Most of these people don't normally work on Sunday. They've been called in for a specific reason.
Okay, hey, we're still getting a heavy Mother's Day traffic. Could you try back in the next few minutes? Thank you.
While others take the weekends and holidays off, Southwestern Bell brings in extra help. Mother's Day is one of the phone company's busiest days, second only to Christmas. The flood of well-wishing calls from thoughtful children strains company systems.
Mother's Day is one of our heaviest calling days of the year. A lot of operators have to work today that normally would be off. We've scheduled 90 operators today. Normal is about 30 to 35 operators on a Sunday. So we do have a lot of mothers in here working today.
In Oklahoma alone, the phone company estimates there will be about 750,000 calls placed and 40 million nationwide. That translates to a lot of reaching out and touching, all made possible by Ma Bell. I hope someone thinks to send her a card. Sir? Ted Brown, Action 4.
Let me see if I can return your money.
A steady stream of auto workers union members showed up to cast ballots in the strike election. The ballot contained one simple yes or no question. Are you in favor of a strike action if contractually strikeable issues are not resolved? Now, a yes vote doesn't necessarily mean the union members will walk off the job. It means that the union will strike if contract negotiations with GM management break down. A sampling of GM workers showed a strong strike sentiment.
They've tended to ignore us. They refused to bargain on the issue so far. So I think once they see that we're behind the union, they're going to take a different attitude.
I just think we're getting the wrong end of the deal, you know. The management's taking advantage of us.
I think if we do get a yes vote, we will get a little more cooperation with management.
There hasn't been anything that I've seen that, really calls for a strike, and I'm totally against it.
Union officials refused to discuss the election today. However, they did promise to publicly announce the results early tomorrow morning. Scott Wallace, Action 4, Southeast Oklahoma City.
You may think you know CPR, but don't bet someone's life on it.
Position.
Registered nurses will teach cardiopulmonary resuscitation
have on a
in
pretty
6
firm
classes
surface
this
of some
month.
sort. 1, 2,
Students
3,
at
4.
tonight's class learn CPR for infants and adults. There's nothing like hands-on practice to learn the right way to administer CPR, and health officials urge you to attend a CPR class this month so you're sure of what you're doing if someone's life is in your hands. Classes will be held at Midwest City Memorial Hospital Tuesday night. Baptist Medical Center and Cassidy School will hold classes Wednesday. Presbyterian Hospital will sponsor the seminar Tuesday night, May 19th, and South Community Hospital will teach CPR May 21st. Sue Lauer, Action 4.
Oklahoma County Commissioners meet in this room each Monday. Now, in Oklahoma, county commissioners are some of the most powerful people in the state. They have jurisdiction over county employees. They oversee the maintenance and repair of county roads and bridges, and they have absolute discretion over who does business with the county. In fact, county government cannot function without these county commissioners.
At least 2 of the 3 commissioners must be in office to keep county government running. But Oklahoma County is in trouble. One commissioner recently retired due to health reasons. Another, Commissioner J.P. Richardson, is under federal indictment for accepting alleged kickbacks. If he steps down, that would leave only 1 commissioner. And under state law, that's not enough to conduct county business.
As long as Mr. Richardson does not retire or is not ousted, the county government can continue to function the way that it is. If he's convicted and the appeals become final, then he would be ousted from office.
County government may not remain in limbo too much longer. The governor has already called a special election to replace retired Commissioner Frank Lynch. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the Oklahoma County Courthouse.
The Oklahoma Good Roads and Streets Association wants the state to convert its fixed cents per gallon motor fuel tax to a tax based on a percentage of motor fuel price. The conversion to a percentage tax would allow highway revenue to keep pace with increasing road and bridge repairs. The association feels motorists are paying less per mile in user fees because of the wider use of fuel-efficient engines, smaller cars, and continuation of the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit.
Oklahoma's 6.5 cents per gallon motor fuel tax has not been changed since 1949. We have the 3rd lowest motor fuel tax in the nation. Only Texas and Nevada are lower.
Trial now. At a Capitol News conference, the vice president of the Oklahoma Good Roads and Streets Association says they're not asking for a tax increase.
We're just asking for people to see that their taxes are actually going down on the motor fuel tax, because there was 10% less fewer gallons consumed last year in Oklahoma, and this is a cents per gallon. If we put it on a percentage of the price, it would just stay the same. If inflation went up, it would go up a little bit. If inflation deflated, it would go down.
The association feels that half of all bridges in the state are too old or too weak and need to be rebuilt or replaced. They feel a percentage motor fuel tax will be the best long-term solution to the state's highway funding shortfall. Ben McCain, Action 4.
Like a lot of Charles Bronson movies, Death Hunt has a lot of running, a lot of shooting, and a lot of people getting killed. Also, like a lot of Bronson movies, there's a lot of music instead of a lot of dialogue. Well, usually they don't need dialogue, but Death Hunt is an exception. Death Hunt is based on a true story about a man named Alfred Johnson, played by Charles Bronson. Johnson is a loner. That makes him mysterious, too, and hated by most of the trappers in the far north of Canada. Johnson kills one of these trappers in self-defense, and the others come after his blood. Lee Marvin plays the Canadian Mountie who suspects the truth and doesn't want to see innocent people killed.
Don't kill me, Albert. I expect that's you.
Hello, Bill.
Well, sir, what brings you back?
Too damn crowded.
Yeah, getting that way all over. Now listen to me, Albert, because you ain't got much time. Things are not the same as when you left here. They built up a town about 7 years ago, just a few hours from here, in good weather. There's a Mountie there named Edgar Millen, and he's coming after you. I guess he'll bring a whole bunch of others with him, but he's the last man in the world that anybody'd want on his trail.
I appreciate you coming over here to tell me that, Bill.
But you ain't running, is that it?
Got no place to go.
Bronson and Marvin are outstanding as a trapper and a Canadian Mountie Police. They are supported by some impressive acting from minor characters, and from the opening shots to the closing credits, the photography is breathtaking at least. That is underscored with some impressive orchestration. But good acting, beautiful pictures, and incredible music don't always replace dialogue, and dialogue is what's missing in Death Hunt. It was interesting, but it left a lot of unanswered questions. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
Shoppers at Shepherd Mall saw something a little different today. It was the sheriff's department, and they weren't after shoplifters. Instead, the sheriff's men displayed some of the equipment that they still use today and some used long ago. There was the first county jail ledger, used back in 1895. The department displayed some of the drugs and drug paraphernalia it's picked up in raids around the county. This show and tell is part of the sheriff's office drive to improve its image.
We've become aware that the public is really unfamiliar with what our function is and what we actually do. So in a sense, over the past year, we've tried to make ourselves more known, not in the sense of having a bad influence, but letting the people know who we are, that we're working for them, and what we can do for them.
The sheriff's office seemed to be making a hit with most of the shoppers, especially this young man who got to try on one of the department's riot helmets. The department plans to do more exhibits in other parts of the city. Bill Ross, Action 4, Shepherd Mall.
Every day, hundreds of school children are bused in Oklahoma City. It is said that anti-busing sentiment has been strong in the legislature since 1970, when a federal judge issued an integration order requiring busing in some of the city schools. But Representative Frank Sheridan, who authored the resolution on the House side, doesn't think busing belongs in any school.
As Representative Monks would say, it's totally un-American to force children to do something like this. I don't think the children are being considered, really. It's we've got somebody in Washington that wants to get the racial balance just the way they want it, and they don't really, and they're not taking into consideration what happens to the children in these instances.
But on the other side is Representative Freddie Williams, a former school board member and member of a national desegregation committee.
They just come up with bulldozing, busing, and yet never offer anything positive as to how we can live up to the American dream of equal opportunity for all. And don't you forget it, you're young, you don't know. I came up through the separate but equal. It was separate but unequal.
But as Freddie Williams and all the other lawmakers who work in this room know, that resolution really doesn't mean anything, even if it's sent to Congress. Congress doesn't have a say on busing. That issue rests totally with the courts. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at the state capitol.
If you went into a savings and loan in the Oklahoma City area today, you could apply for a certificate of deposit or a money certificate and expect to get 12% interest on $5,000 or less.
How much did you want to invest in your money market?
$10,000.
$10,000.
But that money would have to stay in savings for 2.5 years unless you wanted a 6-month investment and had at least $10,000. Now, even though many people take advantage of these services through savings and loans, other companies in the state offer 90-day investments for $5,000 or less, and they pay more than 16% interest. So that's a service savings and loans would like to offer to win back some of their business. And it's something savings and loans are considering.
A lot of it, I think, depends upon the actions of the money market rates. If they are continuing to be high, as they currently are, then there might be some of these forthcoming fairly soon.
If the new competition was introduced in Oklahoma, it would be good news for consumers because it would mean that we would be able to shop around for the best deal in investing small amounts of money for short periods of time. Jane Boone, Action 4 in downtown Oklahoma City.
This is Rita Nauni being freed from the Oklahoma State Penitentiary a few weeks ago. She was released on $100,000 appeal bond. Earlier she had been released, but the bond had been revoked. However, the Court of Criminal Appeals ordered the bond granted back to Nauni. She was sentenced to serve a 150-year prison sentence for killing a man and wounding a woman. Yesterday, Robert Keller, convicted of first-degree murder, was denied bond in district court. He was sentenced to life in prison. The difference is Keller is guilty of first-degree murder and Nauni of first-degree manslaughter, which means Keller set out to kill, while in Nauni's incident, it was a spur-of-the-moment shooting. Keller's attorney, David Hood, says the end result in both cases is the same, and that a 150-year sentence is just like a life sentence. But Judge Raymond Nafee didn't see it that way. Hood says he's taking his case to the Court of Criminal Appeals, as did Nauni's attorney. The judges at the court didn't want to comment on camera because they haven't heard the case yet. But one court official did tell me it's doubtful that anyone convicted of first-degree murder would be out on appeal bond. But those convicted of first-degree manslaughter may try for an appeal in light of the Nauni decision. Ed Stewart, Action 4, the Court of Criminal Appeals.
Last November, members of the Sunbelt Alliance held a meeting with some Kerr-McGee officials. The Alliance members wanted answers to their questions about the company's nuclear policies and practices. After a brief meeting, the Sunbelt Alliance was asked to leave. They didn't, and Oklahoma City police arrested them for trespassing. The Alliance members were found guilty in city court, and today their appeal came before the county. They were asked to justify their actions, and they said they're strongly against nuclear power and weren't satisfied with Kerr-McGee's answers to their questions. But Judge Lambert ruled strong beliefs aren't enough to justify breaking the law, and the Alliance members were found guilty in county court. They face a maximum fine of $35 apiece. Sue Lauer, Action 4.
Once again, Dr. Stark and his attorneys were in district court to contest a school board election, and for the same reason as last time. There were at least 23 votes cast illegally. People from the wrong district voted. Since Stark's opponent only won the election by 18 votes, Judge Raymond Nafee reluctantly ordered a third election be held.
One of the things that concerns me is just how long do we have to keep doing this? This makes 2 elections. It's the same song, second verse all over again. I'm told by election board officials this costs $2,000 to have that election in that one district. Puts Dr. Stark, Mr. Long, through all sorts of turmoil and what have you. We need a better method or something, Mr. Dennis, to watch when these people come in to vote. And the people themselves ought to be told, I mean the citizens themselves, they should assume responsibility to know what district they live in.
You know, where there's humanity, you're going to have human error. And I think these people who voted illegally did it without knowing they were doing it. I don't think they do it on purpose. So I'm ready to forgive and forget and hope that they don't do it again.
Long says he believes he won in the last 2 elections and will a third time. Ted Brown, Action 4 at the Oklahoma County Courthouse.
As you can see, there's not a whole lot to downtown Piedmont, but officially more than 2,000 people live in the city limits. And when problems started with the police department about 3 weeks ago, some residents were worried. But now that everything's worked out, most people say they thought it would turn out okay.
It wasn't that big a deal to start with.
Everyone's been pretty much just sitting back to see what was going to happen, because, you know, everyone knew that eventually they would find somebody.
Oh, we've had our problems out here with the police, you know. I wasn't really concerned. I knew they'd work it out.
But the people are glad that things have worked out because the police force is important to Piedmont. The city covers 78 square miles, and officers on patrol help scare burglars away from rural housing areas. Some people say that the shakeup may have been a good thing for Piedmont because 6 auxiliary officers are now officially part of the police force. And when the new chief signs on June 1st, he and the other officers can pick up where the old regime left off. Jane Boone, Action 4, Piedmont.
Do solemnly swear.
It was during the swearing-in ceremony that the 2 lawmakers caught eye of each other and the romance was on for Twyla Mason and Charlie Gray. They sit right across the aisle from each other. They're both Democrats. It's her first term, his third, but the first wedding for them both. And Charlie Gray, at 32, had claimed to be the oldest legitimate bachelor at the Capitol.
The woman was crazy about me for the first night. I mean, she couldn't keep her eyes off me.
You could tell right off that, huh?
She finally came to her senses.
Of course, being married will present new problems for them since they both live in different districts.
No comment.
Well, we have a problem of maintaining two households, you know, one Tulsa and one in Oklahoma City. And I've given some serious consideration to look at a statewide office, maybe the Corporation Commission, but as it stands right now, well, I plan to seek re-election.
Well, one thing's for sure, Charlie and Twyla found that keeping their romance a secret would never work. Now the whole world at the Capitol knows about them, but it doesn't matter. They're in a world of their own. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at the State Capitol. But just a while ago at Senate President Marvin York's news conference, York said all deals are off. They will try and pass an earlier bill that seeks to address the inequities in teachers' salaries.
It is our position that we will postpone any further consideration for this session, House Bill 1396, and instead come with a modified version of House Bill 1236. And we will get to work on that bill sometime probably today and put it into final form and hopefully pass it either the latter part of this week if we can or the first of next week.
I had an opportunity to get a portion of my water plan if I would agree to their suggested education plan. Looking at it as a package, although I'm very deeply concerned about water, it was not a package I could accept. And therefore, it's just those are the rules of the game. You just win a few, lose a few, some are rained out. But in this case, to get the water and the 20% fund, where I'd asked for 33% and only to get 20% in turn to accept an education bill that I think is very confusing, was not a package that I could accept.